Here. I was talking to the Dread Pirate Roberts. So guys, how great was that? So I'm so excited. This is our fifth movies we love, and I'll say people haven't been more excited about a movie than this one. And I'm so excited you're here tonight because we sold out right away. So we're so excited to welcome with us Cary Elwes. Cary and I decided to dress alike.
Yes. I said to Tim we should swap jackets.
We're going to at halfway through.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Did you guys enjoy the film?
Had anyone not seen it before? Really?
Well, put your hand way up if you way up, higher.
What did you think?
There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome.
Oh wow, that's so awesome.
That's so cool. So what do you think? I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your name? Akiko, stand up. How are you? Here, you want a hug? You want a picture of a hug? Okay. This is like The Price is Right. Akiko, come on down. All right, you got that? All right. So you enjoy the film. What was your favorite scene in the film?
The beginning?
Beginning scene?
Everything, I like it.
Very much. Thank you. Give me a hug. Did not pay Akiko to say that.
You'll get your check after Akiko. Well, Cary, this is has anyone read the book yet, by the way? Oh wow, a lot of people. It's great. I loved it, and it was so much fun to read, and you're such an amazing storyteller. So I'm really excited to hear some of these stories out loud and share them with all you guys. Well, why don't we start with? Let's talk about how you got cast in this. Like, how did this movie come to you?
I was in Berlin shooting a film, a little independent film, and it was a German-Finnish-British co-production, which should give you an idea how desperate we were for a budget. We were shooting in both Finland and Germany, and I just left Finland. We were shooting about 800 miles from where Chernobyl just happened, which was pretty intense. And no one knew back then, you know, how serious it was. These are the days before CNN, you know. And I remember our German unit production manager called us a meeting on the set with the cast and crew, and he said, I have good news and some bad news. The good news is that the wind is blowing in the other direction. The bad news is that you should not be drinking the milk for the next couple of weeks. And we had no idea, you know, obviously today they would probably shut down the production and send everybody home, but thank goodness nobody got sick. And then we finished the film. We did one more week on the sound studio at Babelsberg in Berlin, and I got a call from my agent saying that Rob Reiner and his producing partner Andy Scheinman were thinking about traveling to Berlin to meet me to discuss The Princess Bride. And I knew the book. I'd read the book when I was 13, and of course I knew who Rob was. I grew up watching All in the Family, and I'd seen This is Spinal Tap probably 100 times at that point, and so I didn't know what I was more excited about, the idea of meeting, you know, Meathead or Marty DeBerkey, you know, and so, but my agent said to me, they're a little nervous because of the whole Chernobyl thing, and so we're not sure if they're really going to come or not, and so I was unsure whether it would happen, but thank goodness they did come, and I'll never forget, Andy Scheinman said he was so nervous about the fallout that he ran from the taxi into the hotel thinking that would make a difference. And so I had a great cover. Yeah, exactly. And we had a great meeting, and we discussed a lot of American pop culture, and then Rob pulled out a copy of the script and he asked me to read a scene from it, which I did very nervously. And
you were hoping not to have to read anything.
Yeah, because I hate reading. I just hate it. Because for me, it's like it's weird. It's like miming in a way. You know, because you've got if you don't have a drink there and the scene calls for you to drink, when you're doing an audition, and it says the actor or the character picks up a glass and drinks it. In the room, there's usually not a cup, so you have to end up miming, and it's really, I'm not a mime. Yeah. I'm just not. And it always ends up being very strange to me. Anyway, I did the scene, and it was the scene where Wesley tells Buttercup how he became the Dread Pirate Roberts in the first one. And I got about halfway through this whole speech about becoming the Dread Pirate Roberts. And he stopped me and went, okay, that's good enough, like that. And I thought, well, that was fun while it lasted. Sure, that was, it was a nice meeting, and, And he said to me, well, we're going to go back to England, and we got to meet a couple more actors, and we'll let you know. And when a director says, we'll let you know, that usually is, a nice way of saying, we'll never see you again. And it was nice meeting you. And I thought, okay, I'll try to put it out of my head, but it was very hard to do because obviously I was thrilled at the excitement of possibly working with not only one of my favorite directors and actors, but also with being able to play a part in the great Bill Goldman, one of his scripts, because I was a huge admirer of the Goldmans. This is a man who wrote Marathon Man, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, and I couldn't believe that these two people were actually thinking of me to be in their film. So I waited about 8 days later, I got a call, and my agent said, are you sitting down? I went, no. Really? And she said, yes. I went, no. She said, yes. And I said, well, go ahead and forge my signature on the contract in case they change their mind. So that's how that happened.
And what I love too that Rob says in the book that one of the reasons that they felt comfortable casting you is that they saw you on screen and you were extremely good looking and charming and very Errol Flynn-like, but that you did an impression of Fat Albert and that you were a big fan of Saturday Night Live.
Not doing it. But
okay, well, I'm not asking you to do it, but I thought that was really interesting is that what he said is that by you doing that and talking about how you loved SNL and pop culture, that it...
No, not true. No,
that's not... Well, he just said that, didn't he say in the book that it showed that you have a sense of humor? It's like, okay, you're going to get the comedy of this.
Yes, that part, yes. The humor, I guess. But I mean, I'd like to think that that my acting skills perhaps were what he was interested in, rather than my impersonation.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that enjoy TV, so it wasn't just that, but I thought that was interesting.
If my impersonation skills were what got me work, I'd be working non-stop, I can assure you.
By the way, if you listen to the audiobook, he does pretty much everyone in the movie, and his Andre the Giant's amazing, which maybe we'll hear later.
Yes, Andre is even better.
Oh.
It's brilliant. If you close your eyes and you listen to Chris Guest doing it, it's unbelievable. And you can go online, there's a documentary about the making of the film, and he does it, and it's brilliant. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about one of my favorite parts of the book is, in the script it says, and now there's the greatest sword fight of all time. But then you guys had to figure out how to do that. And it's pretty amazing on screen, but why don't you tell us a little bit about what actually went into filming the greatest sword fight of all time?
Well, Rob said at the very beginning of the shoot that he wanted just Mandy and I to be doing the sword fight scene, and then also Chris Guest to do the fight with Mandy. And he didn't want stunt double. He said, I don't want any doubles, I want stand-ins, I want you guys. That's how he said it. And so it was a bit nerve-wracking. I'd never had any real fencing lessons. I think I had a couple of classes in acting school, but I never really took it seriously. And he hired two of the best guys to train with us. One was a fellow by the name of Bob Anderson, who was an Olympic fencer for Great Britain in the 1950s. And the other was Peter Diamond, who was a great fencing master and stuntman. And they both did all the lightsaber sequences for the first three Star Wars films. So there's kind of a connection to George Lucas here, which is kind of cool. And Peter Diamond, who trained me for the most part, was also the Tusken Raider in the original Star Wars. So they were very cool. They were badass. They were in their 60s, but they could kick your butt. One day, I'll never forget, I was training with them one day, and I started to feel really cocky, thinking I was this and that, And I go ahead and disarm me like that. And I didn't get to the word me, and he went, you were saying. And they sat us down at the beginning, Mandy and myself, and Bob told us, he said, look, we told Rob Reiner that, it's virtually impossible with the time allotted for anyone to become proficient right-handed. Forget left-handed. We're going to do the best we can. We've asked them to move the fight to the very end of the movie, and that'll give us more time to train. But, we're going to be honest with you. it's not going to be easy. And Mandy immediately went, yeah, we can do it, it's no problem, like that, you know? And, because he's very gung-ho, Mandy, he's great. And I said, yeah, sure, why not, you know? And they proceeded to train us 8 hours a day for 5 days a week in prep. And then once we started shooting, they were always off camera, Bob and Peter, holding these rapiers in their hands. And the minute Rob yelled cut, they were like... And so we never really sat down in the movie. While all the rest of the cast were hanging out, you know, eating sandwiches, enjoying the sunshine and chatting, we were off sweating, you know, and developing muscles in our thighs we didn't even know we had. And so, you know, we literally never got a break. You know, even on our days off, they went and trained us all day long.
And I love that. So these guys were training, and they finally got the fight down that they were told they're never going to be able to get down. And you finally showed it to Rob Reiner, and you were so excited, and they were so excited that you did this. And Rob said,
well, so when you train for a fight sequence in a film, the first time that the stunt people show it to you, they do it in what's known as half speed or quarter speed. And that means they slow it down a bit to allow everyone to see the maneuvers, right? And when Bob Anderson and Peter showed the whole sequence to Rob, they showed it to him at half speed, which means it was really slowed down to about a half speed. And Rob went, oh, that's nice, okay, good. And then by the time we showed him, about a week before we were to shoot the scene, we got so good at it that it was over in like a minute, you know? And Rob went, after we finished, we walked up to him, we were all panting, man, you know, we're like, so, what do you think? What do you think? You like it? And Rob went, that's it? Like that. And we were like, yeah, what do you mean that's, yeah, of course that's it. You know, we've been training for months. He said, guys, look at this set I built for you. You know, we got a tower here, and this thing, the steps, and the rocks, and the whole thing. You can't be on this set for a minute. Go back and add another 2. So we had to go and add the whole going up this tower. That whole bit was added on at the last minute. And so we had to add this whole training. Now we had to double our training and getting closer to the day of shooting. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, but we got it in the end, I think. So we were, yeah.
it's amazing. And also, so you guys are training and trying to figure this out. And then you had a little accident, not while filming, but offset.
Yes. Okay,
so... It involved Andre the Giant.
Andre, God bless him. How great was Andre in the film? By the way, when I had no idea, growing up in England, Andre was a legend everywhere in the world, even, you know, as far as Tokyo, everywhere, right? Because he's a giant. It's not like there are a million giants. It's like Rob said when he talks about casting Andre, he said, it's not like there are you make a call for a giant and 100 people show up. There's only one giant, and it's Andre, you know. And so he was so beloved by us all. I miss him to this day. He was such a sweet guy. He was truly a gentle giant. He'd give you the shirt off his back. Be enough for 5 people, give it to you, and that's just who he was. He always had a smile on his face, even though he was in a lot of pain, by the way. He had terrible back pain from years of terrible treatment in the ring, obviously, and carrying all that weight, you know, because he was 450 pounds and 7'4". Yeah, so he's a big guy. Anyway, he couldn't get around the set very easily. And when we went on location, all those scenes that you see us running around the countryside, that's in an area in Derbyshire called the Peak District. It's very well named because it's very peaky and hilly and mountainous. And Rob wanted to shoot on the top of all these hills so you get the full effect of the vista of the English countryside, right? And, you know, Andre couldn't fit in any regular car or van or truck or anything. In fact, the only thing he could fit in was a Mack truck. And that's what his trailer was on the set. It was the back of a Mack truck, poor guy. No windows or nothing, just a truck, poor guy. And he had nice furniture in there and everything, but that was the only thing he could fit in. So we couldn't take the truck up to the set each day to take him to the set. So the unit production manager said to him, Andre, how do you get around on your farm I think you had a farm in North Carolina? And Andre, who called everybody boss, which is hilarious because when you're talking to Andre, everybody talks to him like that. And he said, how do you get around on your farm, Andre? And Andre goes, I use an ATV, boss. Like that. Now, if you Google on your phone, smartphones rather, if you Google image Andre the Giant and all-terrain vehicle, and a picture will come up of him in his costume on this little three-wheeler. Looks like a tricycle under it. It's incredible. I think it's the only all-terrain vehicle that was in England in 1986. And you've never seen him happier. I mean, he was happy to begin with. This guy was zooming around this thing. You've never seen a giant move so fast. It was unbelievable. And he loved it. Forget going to the set or anything. He was just playing around with it all day long. And they used to have to come up to him and tell him to stop while we were shooting because it was so noisy. And he would zoom up to me and he'd come up on this thing and he'd go, "Hey boss." I go, "Hey Andre, you like my toy?" It's wonderful, Andre. He's like, "You want to try it?" I said, "I don't know, Andre, I don't know." But he take off again. Day 2, same thing. "Hey boss." "Yes, Andre." "You want to try my toy?" And this went on for 4 days. On the 4th day, he came up, he went, I went, "Hey, Andre," he goes, "You like it, don't you?" I go, "Well," he goes, "You know you want to." Like that. So like a twit, you know, this was the point where my hubris exceeded my aptitude. I went, "Oh, all right, Andre." And I took off my mask. I thought that was a good idea. I took off my mask, handed it to someone. He got off it. It went up another 4 feet. You know? And it's much bigger and noisier close up. And now the pressure's on. Everybody's watching me, and his bodyguard, like he needed a body. I asked this guy, I go,
He's like half the size.
"What's your job? Defending him from the flu? Really?" You know? And he comes up to me, he goes, "No, it's easy, governor. It's just like a motorbike, you know. Clutch pedal here, brakes, on-off switch, Bob's your uncle." That should have told me something. So I get on this thing, I put it in first gear, and I lurch forward, and I go over a rock, and my left big toe gets caught between the clutch pedal and a rock, and it just snapped like that. And I went, "Oh, that's what the sound of a broken toe sounds like." Right? It's interesting. And now people are running up to me. I have to shoot the scene with Buttercup where I confront her about marrying Humperdinck, and then we roll down the hill and they say the 3 words, right? And I'm panicking now because I'm thinking we're 10 days into shooting and Rob wants us to do all our own sword fighting, and I've got a broken toe. They're going to send me home for sure. I mean, how am I going to sword fight with a broken toe? So I'm panicked. I'm acting like the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'm telling people coming, "Oh no, it's fine, it's just a flesh wound." Okay. And the set nurse comes up to me, and she's very funny. She goes, "Can I touch it?" I go, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And she touches the bottom of my boot. She goes, "Does that hurt?" And I go, She goes, "I think we need to take the boot off and have a look." They take the boot off, and it's very painful, obviously. I don't think I've had a broken toe, it's very painful. Take the boot off, and there, of course, is the toe, and it's all swollen and pointed in the wrong direction and everything. And it's marvelous. And she goes, "I think it's broken." I said, No, it's just sprained. She goes, "No, it's broken." And I'm sweating now. Right? And I go, "Well, is there anything you can do? You know, because I have to shoot the scene right now." And she opens up her kit that she has with her, and she goes, "No, I'm a set nurse. I've got something for an upset tummy, got something for a headache, yeah, but I've nothing for broken bones. I'm just a set nurse. I have to go to the hospital for that, to put a splint on it." I go, "Well, can you make a splint?" She goes, "I suppose I could make a makeshift one." I go, "Great, do that, please." And I think she grabbed a couple of twigs or something and taped my big toe to the other toe and put it back in the right direction and everything. Now the boot won't fit, of course. I mean, it was just a comedy of errors.
And you're also telling everyone not to tell Rob.
I'm saying
you don't want Rob to know
Rob
about this.
I'm terrified of being fired at this point. We're 10 days in, and I'm thinking I'll just bluff it. I'll just eat through the pain, and if I have to sword fight with a broken toe, I'll just do it, which is totally insane, really. And he's the director, like he's not gonna know, right? That's how stupid I am, right? And so now they cut a hole in the back of the boot, and I get in the van with the set nurse and the first AD, and we drive up to the set, and it's the longest, slowest drive I've ever taken in my life. I'll never forget, I overheard her turn to the first AD and say, "I think he fell on his head as well." And I mean, it was just, I was just panicking. We get to the set, they open the door, I hop out, and I I just put all my weight on my left foot and walked right up to Rob like there's no big deal, right? And he's standing by the monitor and he's scratching his beard like this, and he goes, "Hey, Cary, how you doing?" I said, "I'm fine, Rob, how are you?" You know, just totally just pretending like it's no big deal. And he goes, "I'm good, but how you doing?" Like that. And I realized he knew at that point, and I just broke down. I said, "Rob, I'm so sorry. I feel like such a twit. I was fooling around on Andre's all-terrain vehicle, and I went over a rock, and I broke my I think I may have broken my toe." He goes, "I know, I'm the director. You think I don't know what's going on here? Somebody came over the walkie-talkie and said you're gonna see that Cary can't walk too good." I said, "I'm so sorry, Rob. I was afraid to tell you. I thought you'd fire me." And he goes, "I'm not gonna fire you. What are you, crazy? Can you walk on it?" I go, "Yeah, you know, yeah, sort of." He goes, "Can you run?" I go, "It's gonna be interesting." He said, "All right, let's just shoot the scene and then we'll worry about it later." And he was such a mensch about it, really. And we shot the scene, and in the scene, if you remember, I sit down against a log and I put my hands behind my head and I'm acting all casual and cool while confronting Buttercup. And I did this thing with my leg, and to not put any pressure on my toe when I sat down, I did this ludicrous thing. It's just absurd when you look back at it now. It looks like I'm putting all the emphasis on just one leg and trying to pass it off like it's no big deal, like that, you know. And Rob, who forgot that I busted the toe, came up to me after taking it, and he goes, the way you sat down was so graceful, how did you do that?"
Looked very Cary Grant in the movie.
So I learned two things that day. One, always tell the truth, it's easier. And two, never go fooling around on an all-terrain vehicle. Those things aren't toys, seriously. So yeah, that was the first and last time I played around on an all-terrain vehicle.
But then remember, like, because I was watching it tonight, but like when you shot the fight scene, like your toe was still broken. It's pretty amazing watching it because you can't tell, and it's very graceful.
It was fairly well healed by that point. It was tender. I couldn't, like the ball of that foot, it hurt more on the ball underneath the big toe. I don't know, for some reason. But I had an amazing doctor, and you know, and what happened was Bob Anderson said to me, "Okay, what we're going to do is just going to focus on your arm movements for training until your foot heals." And in a way, it forced me to be better left-handed because I was forced to actually focus more on my arm movements, and I think that's how I became more proficient at being left-handed. In a strange way, it might have been a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
Well, two more Andre stories, because when you read the book, I really was touched by a lot of the Andre stuff. But let's talk about your first scene with Andre on set when you were shooting.
First scene with Andre was on the parapet of Florin Castle, where Fezzik and Montoya drag Wesley, and I'm mostly dead at that point. We come straight from Miracle Max's cabin, and I've taken the miracle pill. And I don't remember the dialogue too. I'm sure some of you know better than I do. But I think Fezzik says something along the lines of, regarding the pill, he says, "I wonder how long before it takes effect." Something like that. And Mandy says, "Your guess is as good as mine." And then I come to, and I say, "I'll beat you both together. I'll fight you both together. I'll beat you both apart," right? Something. Yeah, she's got it. Thank you. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. Thank you. And then Andre says, "I guess not very long," like that, right? Well, he didn't get to the word long when he emitted the most monumental fart. I kid you not. It was, look, we've all accused each other of giant farts. This was a giant's fart, okay? To be heard 3 counties away. You know the scene where Andre says, "Everybody move," and then they cut to everybody in Florin freaking out? That's where Rob got that idea from. The reaction to Andre's fart was exactly that. For a 500-mile radius, people stopped what they were doing. Everyone thought it was an earthquake on the set. People were grabbing the set, and it was shaking. I looked over at Andre, and I told you he already had a smile on his face. Now he had a smile of blissful relief, like it was something he was letting go of that he'd been holding on to forever. And somebody timed it. It was 15 seconds. And people were covering their ears. I looked over at the sound guy. He was lifting the headset. like that. It was massive. I mean, you could hear it in Beijing. I'm not kidding. It was massive. And I looked up at Andre, and he had steam coming out of the top of his head. I don't know, to this day, I don't know why. The combination of this incredibly resonant fart and the steam coming out of his head, I just was lost. I just went, no, 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 God, no. And what's so funny is that in England, when people fart, they get very weird and polite, you know. Sort of, if someone farts, they all go, oh, it looks like rain over there. It does look like rain, doesn't it? And they all get very weird and funny about it. Whereas here, everyone's very cool. Like, dude, really? Come on, really? Take it outside. Open the window, you know? So, but this one was so massive that everyone was in stunned silence after it was over. And it was Rob Reiner who broke the silence, finally, after what seemed like an endless amount of time. Rob said, hey, Andre, you okay? I mean, seriously. I mean, really. Just like that. And Andre, without missing a beat, swear to God, this is what Andre said. Andre goes, I am now, boss. And that slayed us for the rest of the day. I mean, it took us the whole day to get to that scene, because every time he got to the line, I guess not very long, we all just went, oh no, no, it's so long. Unbelievable. Yeah, 15 seconds. You can time that at home, it's heavy.
That's amazing. We're gonna jump around, but just to finish up on the Andre stuff, I love the story in the book where after you were at the New York Film Festival and you saw the movie for the first time, and then he invited you out for drinks in New York, and then you guys went out together.
Of course. By the way, no one says no to Andre. I may have said no to him like 3 times about the all-terrain vehicle, but he knew sooner or later I was going to say. No one really says no to him, you know. And of course, when Andre said, "Do you want to go and have a drink?" What am I going to say? No, it's Andre the Giant. You know, I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And we hop in the back of. He had this modified 4x4 that had been specially made to fit him, and we go and visit all his old haunts. I think we went to PJ Clark's, was the first place we went. And of course, when you walk into any room with Andre, it's like a Western. You know, where the pianola guy stops and everybody looks up, you know, because he can't make a subtle entrance. He has to bend down going through every door, like all these well, not these ones, but certainly a regular door, he'd have to bend down coming in. And the bartender, who obviously knew him, was like, hey, Andre, what can I get you? And Andre goes, I'll have the usual, please, Bill. And the guy goes, okay, and he grabs a beer pitcher, and he turns around to where the bar is, where it has all the liquor on the wall, and he literally takes the pitcher and just pours every drink I mean, I'm not kidding, like vodka, gin, brandy, you name it. And he called it an American, I don't know why. That's what his impression of how Americans drink. And he filled this beer pitcher with everything, and he asked me to sit. He's like, you want to try it? Everything was, Andre, you want to try it, boss? I went, oh, all right, sure, why not, you know? And I took a sip. I've never tasted airplane fuel, but I can assure you this was the closest to what I imagine airplane fuel to taste like. I spat it out and coughed. He thought that was very funny. He laughed like Lurch. He was like, and I ordered a beer, and he thought that was funny. He went, because a beer in his hand was literally like that. You can Google that too, it's incredible. And he could drink 100 beers in one sitting, easy. And so he was starting to polish off these Americans literally like they were water. He could drink one of those just in one gulp. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch. Just to watch him do it was just staggering. And we're chatting about his life and everything. I'm getting to know him a lot better. And we get up and we go to the next bar. And I noticed at the next bar there was someone who I recognized from the bar earlier, right? And I'm thinking, well, it's probably an Andre fan. It's not unlikely. It's pretty easy to spot, and someone who's following him around, right? I think nothing of it. We have a few more. He has a few more Americans. I have one beer, and I'm not stupid. I may be an idiot, but I'm not stupid. I'm just like pacing myself with one beer, sipping it quietly, and everything, yeah. And we go to the next bar, and sure enough, this guy's there again. Now I'm thinking, okay, this is a stalker, and I should probably let him know. And I say, hey Andre, you know, there's a guy over there. I think I noticed him at the last 2 bars. And Andre went, what, where, who, boss, who, like that. I thought to myself, if this guy was trouble, he's not going to be trouble for much longer, you know. And I said, that guy right over there, you see him right over there? And as soon as I point to this guy, the guy totally just gets all weird and pretends he's looking and takes a drink like that. And Andre looks at him and goes, oh, don't worry about him, boss. I go, you know him? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, do you want to tell me about it? He goes, it's a long story, boss. I go, Andre, it's 2 in the morning. Okay, we closed this bar along with the last couple. I got plenty of time. He proceeds to tell me the story. Turns out he'd gone out drinking one night and he slipped and fell while waiting for his car and fell on a patron. And this poor guy must have thought a building was landing on him, you know what I mean? And ever since then, NYPD sent an undercover cop to follow him to every bar he went to make sure he didn't fall on anyone again. And Andre laughed. He goes, it's for my own safety, boss. And I thought, what a great gig for a New York cop undercover to be, you know. And Andre bought him. Andre was like, get him another drink, get him a drink. He got the guy completely hammered, you know. And hilarious. You can't make that up.
I love that story. So let's talk about some of the other casts. So the first movies we love that we did in December, we did with Billy Crystal, who's amazing. And, you know, you talk in the book about how Billy, you know, in his scene as Miracle Max, liked to improvise a lot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you dealt with that.
Sure. My only scene with Billy was in Miracle Max's hovel. And I thought I had a pretty easy day, really. All I had to do was lay on that slab and say 2 words, which is true love, after he, you know, puts the bellows in my mouth and the whole thing. And Billy and Carol arrived about, I guess in early October to shoot, and they only had 3 days to shoot their scene. But they had about 8 hours of makeup each, because they had all that incredible latex they had to put on their face. So I went to go and watch Billy get made up. He brought his makeup artist from Saturday Night Live, a guy called Peter Montagna, with him. And he put 2 pictures on his mirror in his dressing room. One of his grandmother,